look what's happened, someone smashed the front of the caravan in. Now what that does is it sort of bonds the two panels back together, stapled the crack. So we've got the sort of basis of the repair now complete. So what we're going to do now is try and make it look a little bit prettier. So we're going to flat all of this back, get it to a point where we can actually then use a filler, so a plastic filler back in there, and then we can start getting that finished off and ready for paint. So using actually 40 grit paper here. What we're trying to make sure now is that we've got no high points, so that our filler has actually got something now to bond into and just give us a nice finish on there that we can then flat back in to the rest of the panel and blend it all in. That's it, finished. It's good as new now, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
No, so we're just now getting it ready so that we can start to fill it, and that'll just start to make it look a bit prettier. Now unfortunately it had been raining, and I can't pick and choose the times to do it. If I could, I wouldn't do when it had been raining, but that's just the way it goes, isn't it? So I'm going to use our cloths to dry it off, and then also our heat gun, just to try and make sure that we get all the panel as dry as possible, because obviously when we put now our filler on there, we need it to actually stick. So by using the 40 grit paper, it gives us a nice key for that to actually bond onto and stick to. But obviously we now need to make sure it's nice and dry, and it's got something to actually bond to, and it's not going to be wet and not work. So we'll now mix up some of our big boy plastic flexi filler. Interesting.
You shouldn't be allowed to use that.
I'll be alright, don't worry. Don't worry. Now, hopefully I'm not going to need a huge amount of filler, but if we need to mix a bit more, we can always do that. So we're just literally going to mix this all in, give it a good mixing up, and then we can apply that to the body. So hopefully that's all mixed up nicely now. We're starting from this side. Typically I've got water running up from above, which isn't great. So hence what I was saying before, trying to make sure that you don't do this in the rain or when it's been raining. And what I'm doing is just trying to put a thin covering on. I don't want to create myself a load of work removing all of the filler. can always put a bit more filler on if needs be afterwards. But obviously the more that I put on there, the more I've got to get off again. Fairly confident that I've got enough actually covering the areas that I need to at that. So hopefully we've got that to a point now where we can just let that dry, give it a couple of hours, probably put a little bit of heat on there just to tack it off, and then probably come back in an hour or so, see how it's going, and we'll literally just feel it with our finger just to make sure that it's gone completely solid, completely dried, and then we can start our next part of the process. So after all this horrendous weather, our filler is now dry. So what we're going to do is we've got a little block and we're going to start working. I think this is about 250 grit. Now you could possibly, if you'd really put a lot of filler on, start with a higher grit sandpaper or wet and dry, but because I didn't put a huge amount on, I'm literally starting with 250 and then I can work my way down, and it's just literally trying to blend now so that it's all nice and flat and all blends in nicely to the original panel. The issue that we've now got is I think it's going to be too wet to be able to put any paint on, because every single, where we've got it before, where the water runs down, it doesn't matter how much I dry this off, there's always going to be runs coming back down it, so it's not ideal, but
probably took it down with rain again anyway.
Yeah. I think all what we can do today is just get it looking somewhere near, and then when we get a nice dry day we can then give it some primer on there and get it looking a bit better. So we are going to get on with the repair on our plastic panel, and what I'm going to end up doing first is actually flatten it back, because I ended up just getting a little bit of paint on it last week. It rained on it and it made it look horrendous, so get it all dry and then I'm going to get it wet again. So all I'm really doing is just flatten it back so that it's nice and smooth again. Get that dried back up with the towel first, and then I'm going to put some heat on there and then start getting it masked off so I'm not painting the side of the caravan. So I'm going to heat this up, shake up our primer, and then we start applying it. The panel's quite cold, so by heating it up it'll just help the paint to stick and we'll just get a better finish as well. And again, we just want to apply small thin coats so that we don't get any runs. And then this is a white plastic primer that we're using. So we've got some 230. Oh, it's off. Oh, look at that. Let's sand this back down there. Hopefully we are nice and dry. So we're just going to nib it over. Nib it over. And all I'm trying to do is just get a nice finish for our paint to go on to. Any little imperfections, then hopefully I can just fetch out with this. Now I've got a confession to make. Earlier when I touched it, wasn't quite dry and I touched it too early. So always make sure it's ready to be touched. Because if you touch it too early, you're probably going to ruin it. So let's have a look how we look. Wait, what? Okay. So I'm going to give it a quick dust over. I'm going to give it a bit of a heat up first. Dry it up as best as I possibly can now. Oh, wrong one. Press the wrong button. I made it go bang. Blew it up. We're pretty much ready then to put our top coat on. Now we're in primer there. It doesn't look bad, it's just primer, does it, to be honest? So I'm just going to get the panel nice and warm. Try and not flick water off the cans because they was left out in the rain. And then what I'm sort of aiming for here is as a spray, just to try and lose along this edge and not come too far into the panel. So, forgot what I was doing there. So exactly the same, we're just going to try and build up with little coats. And not go too mad. Still got a slight bit of water running down that side, which is not great. Hopefully we can get away with it. Yeah. Yeah, you can't really put too much paint on though, to be honest.
You might get too big though if you went too heavy.
Oh, well, if you went, yeah. Just let it dry and just flat it back. So that's going to be somewhere near. It's only really been a really quick repair. But hopefully it's just give you an idea of how to actually do a plastic panel. As I say, normally I'd have gone in, any little imperfections I'd have filled them back in and gone to town with it, but because it's an older van and I'm just trying to tidy it up, I don't want to spend too much time on it. But obviously if it's your van and you've got a weekend to have a go at it, you can spend as much time at it and just get it absolutely perfect. But hopefully, if we can find a before picture on the video, and compare it to what it looked like before and then how it looks now, hopefully you'd agree that it's a hell of a lot better, and there's no cracks down the side now for the water to leak into. What we will end up doing then, and I always do this too, really I should let it dry, we'll just take everything off there now. Then what we'll do is just probably run a bead of sealant down this edge, just to sort of tidy that very edge up. The paint's in there, to be fair, and it doesn't really need it, but it'll just make it look better. So just a bit of sealant down that edge, and let us know in the comments what you think. Hopefully, especially if it's on a roof or pie, it'll just give you an idea of how to actually get it repaired, get it watertight, and then give it all the strength that it needs. So yeah, so thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.